Welcome back to The Wave. I'm Frank Kanshi. An NGO based in Singapore has published its report on the Good Government Index to evaluate countries' governments generating prosperity. With 7 broad pillars and 35 indicators to measuring a government's effectiveness and capability, Thailand is ranked 54th out of 120 countries, dropping 2 places compared to last year. Joining me now is Mr. Kenneth Sim, Senior Consultant and former Managing Director of Chandler Institute of Governance. Thank you for your time, Mr. Kenneth.
Well, thank you very much, Frank, for inviting me to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I think firstly, briefly, please just tell our audience about the methodology and, of course, what is the key methodology and I think the finding of this paper.
Very good. Thank you very much for the question. We started this index 5 years ago with the belief that good government and national prosperity are deeply connected and that government capabilities matter a lot. So the Chandler Good Government Index, or the CGGI, is unique in several ways. First, it focuses on capabilities, and second, it is not ideological. It looks at capabilities regardless of where on the political spectrum you lie. The CGGI has 35 indicators, which are organized across 7 different pillars. The first 6 look at different dimensions of government capabilities, for example, robust laws and policies and strong institutions. And the last pillar, or we call helping people rise, measures outcomes that are important to citizens, such as education and health. So the overall score for CGGI is simply an average of the 35 indicators across 7 pillars.
Right. So, of course, we have to talk about Thailand. Thailand ranked around 54th, and the score for this year is 0.528. What are the main findings about Thailand's position in this paper, and what should Thai government at this moment to improve in different indicators?
Good. Well, I think the first thing I wanted to say is that I'm in no position to tell the Thai government to do A or B. But what this index does offer is a lens to look at where the challenges and opportunities lie. So with that caveat, I would like to start with the overall picture. The picture for Thailand is mixed at best. While there are some notable areas of strength, there are also areas for concern. Overall, Thailand's rank on the CGGI has dipped over the last 5 years, from 46 in 2021 to 54th in 2025. Now, part of the reason is because new countries have been added to the index. So some of these countries join at a higher level and Thailand's rank is pushed down. But what is slightly worrying is that Thailand's score has also dipped over time. So this means that relative to itself in past years, scores have declined. So why has it declined? Largely due to a few areas. First is in the leadership and foresight pillar, which looks at capabilities that governments and leaders at the top of government, senior civil servants, and also political leaders alike have to capabilities that they have to prioritize and to nurture. The second is in the attractive marketplace pillar, which looks at the government's capabilities to build a flourishing economy. So these 2 areas have a decline in the last few years. I also want to talk about financial stewardship, which is a different pillar. This looks at how well governments are using and safeguarding financial resources. Now, this is the best performing pillar for Thailand, but this also has been a slight decline over the years.
Yeah, but reading through your paper, I think one remarkable point that we have to talk about is leadership, because I think Thailand's leadership score here is not that good in the paper, as in, of course, you put it in ethical leadership, long-term vision, adaptability, and other detailed indicators there. So why? Actually, this is my the question from my bottom of my heart. Why the leadership score is quite low compared to other countries?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that the leadership and foresight pillar looks at the capabilities that leadership needs to have. It does not look at individual leaders. So it's not particular persons within government. Now, the scores for leadership and foresight in Thailand has not been high over the last few years. The highest ranking indicator is in the adaptability indicator. But even then, it ranks at 73rd. There are also other perennial or rather long-standing challenges. One of them is in long-term vision. So it is necessary for governments to have a longer-term vision and to articulate this well in ways that citizens can understand. But the second long-standing and perennial issue for the Thai government, at least based on our data, is an ethical leadership. So this looks at essentially at how well a government or a nation addresses corruption and perceptions of corruption. And in this regard, there's also been a slight dip over time.
Right. So you talk about corruption and long-standing challenges in Thailand too. Just wondering if you also include economic vision or the solution for right now we see the challenges maybe for last year too, because Thailand's economy didn't perform well last year too. Did you also include that economic solutions too?
When we look about economic performance, we look at the different pillar. It's the attractive marketplace pillar. This, as I briefly mentioned earlier too, is an area area of development for Thailand. It looks at areas like business regulations. It looks at property rights. So this is an area that the government should also look a bit harder at.
Right, and another part I think in Thailand's index, one brightest score that we see is financial stewardship. You just talk about. Can you give us more detailed example why Thailand's financial stewardship outperform other indicators?
Good. So this is a very important indicator because over the world, actually there has been a steep decline. But Thailand actually does fairly well in this relative to the other indicators. Now there are two parts to this. The first is how well governments are, how sustainable is their spending. That's the first point. And the second point is how effectively they are using the financial resources. Now, on the first point about sustainability, there has been increase in debt levels and a decline in budget surplus. So this is not a good sign, right? So this means that there are issues with spending and spending sustainably. But on the second end, there's an area where the Thai government does fantastic, and that is in the spending efficiency indicator. Now, the spending efficiency indicator looks at how well a government converts inputs, which is money, into outcomes for people, especially in the areas of health and education. And in this particular areas, Thailand scores 15 in the world. So actually, if you think about it, if I may summarize, what the data is saying is that the government in Thailand is probably spending a bit more than it should be spending, but for the things that it is spending on, it's spending very efficiently.
Right, Kenneth, thank you for your explanation on the financial stewardship there. But I think we still have to compare with other ASEAN countries here. No matter for the ASEAN 5 countries here, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, they're ahead of Thailand. Their leadership are at around 30th or above, but Thailand is at 94th. Wow, why the comparison and why there's a huge gap between Thailand and other nations in ASEAN?
Thank you. Well, I think the first thing to say is that in general, Southeast Asian countries have done very well in the last few years. It is one of the few regions of the world that have actually improved. A lot of regions declined. Southeast Asia is one of the few in the world that have actually improved. Now, in that context, Thailand, of course, doesn't perform as well. Within the 8 ASEAN countries that are ranked in the CGGI, Thailand ranks 5th, so somewhere in the middle. Within the ASEAN 5, which is Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, Thailand is ranked 4th, just above the Philippines. But of course, if you look at globally, within the global South countries, and there are 77 of them, Thailand actually ranks fairly well at 17th. So I think maybe the main point here is to say that overall ASEAN countries in general have improved a lot relative to Thailand. One thing, interesting point to note also is that over time it does seem that the Philippines has been improving a little bit. So although it is behind Thailand right now, it's catching up. It's just only slightly behind Thailand.
Yeah. Just, I want you to shed the line to leadership more because it's what I said, because the leadership and foresight ranking there for Thailand is at 94th. For Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and even Philippines are ahead of Thailand. What's the cause?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at there isn't one specific cause, right? I mean, there are 5 different components of leadership and foresight. There's ethical leadership, there's long-term vision, adaptability, strategic prioritization, and innovation. Now, if you look in most of these areas, the pattern that I see for Thailand is not so great. In general, there has been a decline in almost all. In fact, I would think all of these areas between the last few years. There have been improvements in other ASEAN countries, or even maybe a slight decline, but the decline was less great. So in comparison, it seems that Thailand has declined a lot in this pillar.
If Thailand wants to improve, what should Thailand improve at this category?
Well, I think again, I find it a bit hard pressed to give direct prescriptions. If you look at the things that this pillar measures, right, is the ability of the government to articulate a vision that is continuous and inspiring, right, and convincing. It's about being able to deal with corruption decisively, but also appear to deal with corruption decisively. It's about being able and among the many priorities in government, to be able to allocate resources well. It is about being able to adapt to changing circumstances. So again, these are not specific to any individuals, but they are important for leaders right at the top to set the tone.
Right. Last question. How can this index really be used by policymakers or civil society? Because I think we have seen this is just not the first year. We've seen the long-lasting report from your institution. So how can policymakers and civil society utilize this report?
Good. So it's a question that I often get when I talk about the CGGI. Many of times, the focus will be on scores and ranks, and these are important because they are benchmarked against other countries. But I really hope that governments across the world can use the CGGI as a practical tool to initiate deeper reflection and productive discussions within themselves about whether they are improving or not improving. So it is okay, if the government says, Ken, I don't believe you. I don't think I am doing that badly in this or doing that well in that. But at least there is that conversation and reflection about whether or not the country is progressing in the way that the government would like the country to progress.
Right, agreed. And of course, as what you said, 54th for Thailand in the middle in the report and the leadership foresight. And I think Thai policymakers and civil society, they can take this, for example, to see how Thailand can improve in the global stage. Okay, thank you for your time, Mr. Kenneth Sim, Senior Consultant and former Managing Director of Chandler Institute of Governance. Thank you
very much.